Trista Polo.
And I'm Heather Lynn.
And this is
All That Ease. Show 22.
Show 22.
It's unbelievable.
I know, it's awesome.
It's so cool. So 22 is a master number.
Oh, okay, so that's a numerology thing.
Totally.
Tell me what it means.
It's about large endeavor, master builders, being like directors, diplomats, teachers of the world, and talents belonging to the masses or life. I mean, we're a pretty dynamic duo.
Yeah.
We're really trying to impact the masses.
Yeah, we're both here. Our legacies are each in different ways to positively impact the masses.
Right. Our on purpose, help you build and create your most divine life, right?
Yeah, I use the word legacy, but yeah, it's the same kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Love that. Live with ease, legacy, be all that.
Yeah.
Doing it, baby.
Doing it.
And today's a special day. We were talking with someone, and she explained to us today the numbers make an infinity symbol.
Right, because when we're recording this, it's March 3rd.
Right.
And so it's 3-3. And when you switch one of the threes around and put them together, infinity.
I like that.
Infinite possibility, baby.
Love it.
And that's actually what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the infinite possibilities of life, but that sometimes they don't feel very infinite.
And you really need to recalibrate your, magnet. We have cliches about this, like chick magnets, or I'm a...
Money magnet.
Money magnet. So you want to recalibrate that magnet. So you're not attracting people who drain you and make your life a struggle. You want to attract people that bring happiness and abundance and health and wealth and just add to your life, right? Elevate you in your life.
Well, I think we need to go, but I think we need to go back a step.
Let's do that.
Because I think we need to talk about how do we know what we're attracting? I mean, you're talking about how do we recalibrate?
Right.
I think we need to go back to identifying the calibration, plugging our law of attraction selves into that diagnostic machine so that we can really figure out what we're attracting. And so, sometimes people go to a mall and they always get the best spots. And sometimes people go to a mall and there are tumbleweeds. They're so far away from the front door.
Right.
That's how far away their parking spot is.
Yeah.
My husband and I, we used to have this absolute belief that if either one of us went grocery shopping individually, because we're one of those cute couples that likes to shop together for groceries.
Love that.
When we would either of us go individually, we would end up on this really long line to check out. But when we went together, we would always get the short line and we'd get out of there really fast. And it just kept proving to be true.
So what do you make of that?
Well, that we created that when we're together, short line, when we're apart, long line.
Right.
I mean, that's what we created.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's so interesting that we're talking about calibration because I used to, back from when I was in school, what I learned was that the more nervous, upset stomach I had about a test, the better my grade was. The less nervous, upset stomach I was about a test, the worse my grade was. The better I thought I did, the worse I did. So I got into this pattern of the opposite. The worse I felt about something, the more anxiety I had about it, the better it happened. So I kind of created this pattern my whole life.
Struggle brought you achievement.
That struggle brought me achievement. And the more nervous I was, the better I was. And the more sure I was that it would come out well, the more likely it was to come out poorly.
Man.
So imagine what kind of life I created. And I just kept proving.
Sure.
And I will tell you that I just noticed probably yesterday or the day before, really recently, that that's not the case anymore. But it's still scary. It's scary because I'm so used to that pattern. It's scary to think.
You're waiting for the fall.
I'm waiting for that other shoe.
Yeah, right.
Other shoe to drop.
It's not going to happen.
No, well,
Not manifesting.
I've had a lot of conversations with my dad about this.
You have 2 shoes, and they're awesome.
I have good shoes. Very comfortable.
Great.
I don't fall in them. They don't hurt my feet. But
So recalibrate that. What do they do?
Right.
Right.
They are perfect for my feet. They get me where I need to go, and they keep me upright and healthful.
And they're hot, and they're sexy, and they're fun, and you like to wear them.
I talked a lot.
Do you see how we recalibrated her sentence? Because that's where it begins.
That's what we're talking about.
Right.
So I talked a lot to my dad about it, and we kind of worked through it with some of his Swami lessons that he offers me. But I think Reiki is another piece of that. Reiki has allowed me to clear up and recalibrate the energies that flow with me.
Totally.
And I've become a huge creator. So much so that my husband's even now starting to be a creator, and he doesn't even believe in that stuff.
I know. He's more of a skeptic. I wouldn't even call him open-minded.
No.
He's closed-minded skeptic.
Skeptical.
Yeah.
He's a resistant, skeptical.
He's our resistant Russell.
That's right.
And I'm
He's coming around, though.
I'm coining that term.
He's coming around. Do you know what he did? He was in a networking meeting.
Mm-hmm.
They have a raffle.
Mm-hmm.
He had bought tickets.
Mm.
He put his finger on the ticket that won. Like, he put his finger on the ticket, and the ticket was called.
Uh-huh.
And then he pulled the ace, which doesn't mean anything to me, but apparently that's the big jackpot, and he brought home like $300.
That's exciting.
And he created that.
Right.
And he told me the story a few times because he couldn't even believe that he'd done that, but he's very excited about it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Totally off the mark, but going back to something you said before. Tests, I have a story.
Tell me.
When I was in college, I guess the background is like I graduated like in the top 10 of my high school class.
Nice.
I graduated with like, was it magna cum laude or something in college?
Did you guys know she was this smart?
And the only reason it matters is because then the story doesn't have any context if you don't know my background. So if you get it, so you get a gist of how I do in school. When I had to take the GREs in college, at that time, it was like new, they were on the computer, right? There's 3 quadrants. They test like vocabulary, right, grammar type stuff, math, and then analytical, the quantitative. So I'm not much of a studier. So there's like manuals you could buy to help you like study for the GREs. But I had waited so long, I just needed the one that had like the tricks for getting past
the shortcuts.
Yeah. And so the one that I bought was like how to take the test like wisely on the computer. It was like, this is how you pass it on the computer.
Right.
Like, I'm going to need that one. So I started in the vocabulary section of the book. And here's the thing, right? I tell you guys, I don't read a whole lot. So vocabulary is maybe not my strength. Grammar is not really my strength. I like math. We talk about calculus. I obviously like math. And on the computer, also, when you were done taking the test, your results were right there. End scene. Boom, there are your results. Now, each section, the top score is 800. So here's about how my scores broke down. My vocabulary was like in the 300s.
Trying so hard not to laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My math was like 500s. And my analytical was 780.
Wow.
I mean, like I missed one 20-point question.
Wow.
Right. So I was like, I mean, now how do you make sense of something like that, right? So I go straight to my psychology department advisor. She is like, what is wrong with you? First of all, I mean, do you write your own papers? Do you read what is up with the vocabulary? I'm like, she's like, thank God, like you have grades to support that you're a brilliant person, right? Because this score makes you look like a moron. And she's like, but this analytical, like unbelievable, right? So I'm like, well, what do I do? Do I retake the test? And she's like, no, like you would never want to lose that analytical score. That's so great. Math is whatever, right? And like, here's the thing. The vocabulary has got to be a fluke because you write papers. I mean, you're in psychology. You're not in physics where you're doing it. You write essays and freaking whatever.
Yeah.
So I left it alone. And, I got into my favorite school. And
thank God. Then you're a good manifester. Because you're not a good test taker, apparently.
I was not a good... Well, it's just... I don't know what it is about me and vocabulary. And you know what? I still think... This is what I think. Sometimes that maybe whatever grade it was that was really about grammar, I missed a lot of days. Or the week that they covered grammar, I was like on vacation with my family or something. I never really felt I was schooled in grammar. Like I didn't learn the tricks about grammar.
That's interesting. So back on track.
Right.
With... recalibrating your magnet. And I think that this is a huge thing for people because we are all magnets. Our lives are magnets.
And actually, String theory is based on this. If people are into TED Talks, you can look at string theory videos. It kind of says that. Even how the Earth revolves around the sun, how the planets revolve around the sun, how the sun sits in like a grid of energy, kind of pulls, like how it creates gravity and creates centrifugal force. It is a magnet. There's like, we all live on energy. Right? I mean, on the Reiki Master talking, but I mean, physicists are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And so we are literally magnets. I think that's why Reiki really works, because it does recalibrate someone's energy field, release the static, right? Ground, get all the chakras working in harmony with one another, and then being your real, true, special self, right? Your special essence, magnetically vibrating out into the universe. You're going to attract those great things that will elevate you.
Yeah.
LinkedIn the other day, I wrote happily busy and magnetically abundant, because that's my magnet.
Yeah.
That's how I'm living.
I think that one of the things that creates the magnets for us, though, is the stuff we're not even really aware of. We're all on autopilot for a lot of the day. 400 thoughts a minute are going through our heads. We can only talk about 130 words a minute. But we're thinking 400 a minute, even when we're in a conversation. Our brain can be multitasking. What's it spending its time on?
Right.
My husband gets annoyed when I say you have to be positive, you have to look at the good in stuff, you have to be open. I guess the have to probably is what makes him mad.
I agree with Russell.
Sorry, honey. But the thing is...
Because you're magnetically creating stress.
Yes. But the more that you focus on what's wrong, what's bad in the world, what's unfair, what should be different, you're looking at the what's not.
The shadow side. You're looking at the shadow side.
Yeah, you're looking at what's not. You're looking at what should be.
And there's also, so what I love sometimes about the topics that we delve into is that they're not just spiritual self-help stuff. This is thoughtfulness that people use in lots of different professions. So as a social worker, I talked about how I worked in early childhood facilities and centers and all that stuff, right? So in education, was also this huge shift, probably in the last 10 years, that you say things in the positive. So you don't say, no running, no talking, no, you don't say no and then something. You'd say walking feet, use your inside voice. You are redirecting children's behavior through positive statements and not through their negative.
What you're saying is absolutely. When I help people with goals and vision statements and dream boards, it's always about it's already happened and it's in the positive.
When are we doing dream boards?
Oh, that's happening.
And then we're podcasting.
Totally happening.
To come, dream boards.
Excited.
Awesome.
But when I help people with their goals, their dream boards, their vision statements, it's not how people normally think. Mm-hmm. So instead of saying, I need to be out of debt, I don't make enough money, I'm not happy in my relationship, you do it in the positive as though it's already happened. I am debt-free, I have $1 million in the bank, money comes to me freely, I'm madly in love.
Oh, I like that one.
In fact, you hear about how people order up their perfect job or their perfect mate or their perfect spouse or their perfect business partner. Have you ever heard this concept before? I've heard this a couple of times. A friend of mine actually did this. She had gotten out of a relationship, and she wrote up a list of this is everything I want in my next relationship. This is everything I want in my knight in shining armor, my forever love. And what's so funny when she tells the story is that he actually showed up pretty quickly after she wrote this list, but she wasn't looking for him. And so he was very persistently working on creating a relationship with her, and she was like, get away from me. Because it wasn't even in her consciousness that he would even show up so fast, and now they're living happily ever after. But that's not the only story I've heard. I've heard this story over and over again from so many people. I'm working on being a creator in my life. Our podcast about the warrior wizard, I am working very diligently on creating balance between the warrior and wizard. And one of the ways that I'm doing that is by creating my business as a business of ease. I have a friend, she is wildly successful in her business, one of the top paid people in her company, one of the top 10 paid people in New York State in her company, wildly successful. She uses energy, the law of attraction, the ease, the allowing. And she's such an inspiration to me because I think, wait, It doesn't have to be hard. I don't have to work hard. So I created an order up list of who I want to work with in my business.
Love.
And you know what's very cool?
What?
They keep showing up.
I love that. You want to share what are the qualities on your list? Put it out there for the universe. You're the master builder. It's the 22 show. Infinitely attract your team of ease and abundance.
Yeah. Some of the things on it are positive, up to something, open-mindedly skeptical, willing to evaluate, coming with solutions to problems. There's more on there, of course. But every morning, and this is only about 2 weeks old. This came out of a writing session. It's,
morning pages?
It hangs on my refrigerator along with my vision statement and 2 tut.com notes from the universe that really, really speak to me. And so when I'm in the morning getting the milk from my protein shake or something out of the fridge, I'll read the notes from the universe, my vision, and the list of things that my perfect business partners have. And then at the end, the last thing I say is that there is an unlimited number of people in this world that are like this and that are aligned to working with me.
Oh,
I know, right?
Yeah. It's good. It's hip hop and happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It totally is.
What some might say in the hip hop world, it's popping off. Yeah.
I'm thinking of when you'd pop off the heads of daisies in a field. I don't think that's what it means.
No. More like this, but that's fine. Popping off is more like hot jumping.
Kind of like how fat doesn't mean fat.
Right.
It means pretty hot and tempting. That's not even current, right? That's like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I am not hip hop and happening. But really, I'm more on the adorkable side.
Adorkable.
Yeah.
That's not like that. Hashtag adorkable.
Hashtag
I've
adorkable.
never heard that one.
Did I? I couldn't have made it up.
Maybe.
I don't think so. But that's how I coined myself.
Right.
So talking about recalibrating, what do we do to begin the recalibration within ourselves? Give us some advice, oh Reiki Master.
Right. So even as a therapist, in cognitive behavioral therapy, it's the same thing. So again, right, different schools of thought are saying the same thing. And that's what I love sometimes about the universe is really these principles are
Universal.
running through all sorts of
Modalities,
groupings.
yeah.
Groupings, modalities, professions,
Totally.
people. So CBT, it's cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's the idea that your thoughts create your feelings and your feelings cause actions, right? So it all starts with thoughts. We often talk about like your beliefs, right? Feed your thinking, feed your feelings, feed your actions. When you are looking at your life, so one, the first ingredient to recalibrating is to be self-reflective. If you're just living your life, you got to first reflect, like, are you happy with how it's going? It's got to kind of start there. How do you feel about your life? How do you feel about you? How do you feel about your relationships? Like, it starts with one, self-reflection. And so then from there, it's, well, what did you discover in your self-reflection? Did you like what you found? What would you change? How would you be different? How could your life be better? And then once you discover how you'd want to be different, then we got to look at, so what is it that you believe that is creating the life that you have, right? And so first you look at, how do you talk about yourself? How do you talk about your life? What are the feelings you have around yourself or your relationships, your worthiness? And go back to like the underlying belief and then having to work up the belief that you're worthy of connection, that you're brave enough to be vulnerable, that you're honest enough to be authentic. Some of the baseline stuff we've talked about in other podcasts. And the biggest one being that you're worthy. I think that being unworthy is probably our first defect in our magnet. So it starts with belief, and because then from your belief, you're going to drive your thinking, your thought patterns, right? 400 thoughts a second, a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So your beliefs are feeding your thoughts. From your thoughts is where your feelings are derived. It's choosing the words that you speak out loud, and that's driving your behavior.
So I have to tell you a story about the CEO of my company.
Great.
So the CEO of my company, his name is JR. Well, even before that, he was in his 20s. He was at the beach with some friends, spring break or whatever. And he spent the money he needed to get home, as did all of his friends. So they hitchhike home. They get picked up by this guy, and JR starts talking to the guy. And, he's talking about how he wants so many things. He wants, cars and girls and money, etc. The things that 22-year-olds, 20-ish-year-old guys want. And the guy that's driving says, do you really even mean it? And he says, yeah, I want it. He ends up giving him a tape. At the time, they were tapes. Now he'd probably send him a link to an MP3 or 4 or whatever. He gives him a tape, and he sells him a ticket to a training. The final crux of this tape, which I think was called The Biggest Secret or something like that, was that you are what you think about all the time. Then he says, that can't possibly be true, because then I'd be a girl. But the thing is, he really owned that, and he really lives that every day. And when our company first started 22 years ago, he would run around the halls, and he would chant, another day, another million, another day, another million, another day, another million. And people thought he was crazy.
Right.
And the company makes over $1 million a day now.
Wow.
So now he runs around, another day, another billion, another day, another billion. And the thing is, thoughts become things. His belief is secure down to his core. I have no doubt that he will manifest.
Next, you have to share the cemetery story.
Yeah, so you had asked me what the name of my team is. So I have a team, and we're called Team Dash. So you asked me where the name Team Dash came from. And it actually also came from CEO JR. He tells a story of going on, maybe not his first, but one of his first dates with his now wife, Lauren. And he takes her to a cemetery. If I'm on a date with a guy, he takes me to a cemetery, I'm thinking killer. That's just where my mind goes.
Right.
But that wasn't his intention.
Sure. Because he's still running the gap.
Obviously.
Right. Yeah. She's alive.
She's alive.
He's not in jail.
Fabulous.
Right.
So what he did was he took her over to one of the plots. And he starts yelling at the plot. Get up, Joe, come on, get up, get up, get up. There's so much more to do. There's so much life to live. You can't imagine the technology. Get up, get up. Joe just lays there. And the thing is, there are 2 dates that you cannot control. There's the date that you come into this world. That's the first date on your tombstone. And then there's the date that you leave it. You probably come in and out kicking and screaming against your will. But the only thing you really have control over is your dash. And that's the entire time between your birth date and your death date. So we're named Team Dash so we never forget that our lives matter and that we're here to be up to something, awake, aware, so that we can be on purpose about our lives.
And so what's the message? Look at JR's magnet.
Toads.
I mean, it is wound up to the amped. It does not get any louder. He is very clear what he is magnetizing all the time, loud and clear. Listen to his heartbeat. He is magnetizing abundance and inspiration to help others get to the same place.
So awareness is the first one. But I'll tell you, one of the things that I know he does is he reinforces it by listening to audios, by reading books, by being inspired by others. He is proactive about feeding his brain to be success.
I like it.
Yeah, so I do the same thing. In fact, right now I'm reading Brene Brown's Daring Greatly.
Right.
Highly recommend, 2 thumbs up.
Awesome.
So what other tips do we have for recalibrating to become a magnet of success, abundance, opportunity, and creation?
You're going to need a sounding board. You got to find someone, something, or a group, resources, supports, so that you can bounce off your thoughts and ideas and feelings with someone who can help you tweak, change, alter, elevate, recalibrate. You can't do it by yourself. You can't spin in a hamster wheel by yourself and think that somehow you're going to get to a new place. You've got to get out of the hamster wheel, get out of your own brain, and you've got to go out and do things with other people and read books and have conversations and go to yoga classes and whatever. You've got to get involved in the things and the conversations that are going to help shift and shape your new paradigm, recalibrate your magnet.
They say that you are affected by the people that you spend time around. Your income is an average of the 10 people you spend the most time with.
Oh, wow.
So I think that your magnetism, your calibration is too. Because look at it. If you're trying to reinvent who you are and who you show up as in your mind and out, and you hang around with a lot of negative people who prefer to talk about what's wrong and what's bad and what terrible thing happened to them and happened to somebody else, it's going to be a lot harder for you to recalibrate.
Go out and surround yourself with 10 people with amazing, abundant lives.
Absolutely. People who are up to something, they're positive, they're creating abundance. Even if they haven't gotten it yet, they're on the right path.
That's right. In the mindset.
So become mindful, spend time with like-minded people who are up to positive creation and abundance and possibility. So we've talked about some ways to recalibrate, right? Become aware, surround yourself with positive people that are up to something, creating possibility. Do you have any other tips for recalibrating? Because this really is a huge piece. I mean, I just want people to really get, if you feel like your life's not working, if you feel like you try and work and have effort and you don't get the results that you should for the amount of work and effort you're putting in, you need a recalibration. Mm-hmm. And it is bigger than meditating. It is bigger than taking a class that they're going to do some hypnosis on you. It's bigger than a webinar. It is an entire frame of reference, an entire way of being. It's an entire calibration of your whole soul.
Yeah. Well, I think it begins there, right? Those little pieces. It's like chipping away at the sculpture. So you begin there, you get your foot in there, you warm up to it, but keep evolving, like you're not going to go to one class and be recalibrated. You're just going to start scratching the surface about who and what you are and how you've been thinking, and then how you can be thinking differently. And it goes back to, right at the beginning of this podcast, as you were talking about like your shoes, and then you're like, I don't fall in them, they're not uncomfortable, but like she was saying all these no, not words and all these descriptively negative verbs, right? Like, or adjectives, like not falling, not uncomfortable. So like, okay, go back and say it in the positive. Okay, so they're fabulous, they're fun, they're easy to walk in. Like, it even starts there, like how you speak matters. Mm-hmm. And also, if you can recreate those words and those sentences, then your brain hears you say it in a different way. Like, oh, my shoes are easy. My business is easy. I recruit with ease. I manifest abundance happily. Like, I love the conversation I have with people when we talk about, like, how are you doing? Busy. It's good to be busy, right? If I wasn't busy, I'm not making money. So, like, busy sometimes has this connotation of, like, I'm
Success.
Busy. Well, like, and like, oh, man, right? But, like, then you're saying, oh, man, to business, right? You're saying, oh, man, to abundance. So, like, if you're busy, that's awesome.
The right kind of busy. I think a lot of times people, I'm going to take you to task on busy, because a lot of times people think busyness is success, and it's not. Action. Result producing activity busy.
Income producing activity.
Income producing busy.
Right.
I can be busy all day long,
mm-hmm.
and the only thing that got done maybe was my dishes, and I redid some stuff on my website, and I put away some laundry. Oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. I was busy all day. None of that created any income or abundance.
However, it brings me to, you got to give yourself credit for the things that you do. Your dishes need to get done. You need to do laundry. And if you updated your website, that's great.
I think busyness is as much an addiction as sugar and drugs. That's a whole other podcast.
It is.
We're going to delve into that another time.
Yeah.
So let's recap.
Mm-hmm.
Be mindful of where your thoughts go. Be mindful of the deep down beliefs. Seek out people that can surround you with more positivity so that you can have that support and space to create that. Seek out support from audios, webinars, courses, camps, Reiki masters, acupuncturists, therapists.
Do things like morning pages, yoga, walks, running, meditation, right? Do activities that delve into you. Like your morning pages, it's you with you. Yoga is that person with themselves. Like, you need to delve into you.
Absolutely. There's so much more that we could cover on recalibrating your magnet.
Yes.
So this is really just an intro.
Scratching the surface.
And a reminder.
To do it.
So, we covered some great stuff today.
Sure did.
I enjoyed it.
Always.
Yeah. I'm going to go out there and create even more abundance.
Me too.
I feel ready to do that.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
It's happening. So now it's time for our special essence submission. And who do we have this week? Numero dos.
Numero dos. I'm very excited to introduce my mom.
Yay!
Shelly Byer. She is a mortgage professional and has been for a long time, over 25 years, a real expert in her field. In fact, in her world, she is called the mortgage mom.
Oh.
So she's not just my mom, she's the mortgage mom.
You share her.
Yeah. So here she is.
I'm extremely creative. I can pull things together. I'm a good strategizer, and I'm like Dolly from Hello Dolly. I can connect people to situations and pick people up and put them where they're supposed to be with the right person, and I'm really good at stuff like that. I really am very, very good at stuff like that.
And so with that, we will
see you next Tuesday.